Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carle. I'm the lead developer of MapHubs. And I want to talk to you today about this question of what if it doesn't belong in OpenStreetMap? So the types of data that maybe you shouldn't go into OpenStreetMap and why. Go through that in some of the work that we do with that kinds of data. And in back of my slides here, I have an example of one of our maps. It's deforestation data in Borneo. So what I want to cover, I'm going to go back to this analogy that we've been hearing about OSM as Wikipedia for maps, because I think it comes into play when we talk about the data. Give some examples of what doesn't belong. Introduce Moabi and MapHubs in our project and what we do. Talk a bit about OSM software as a tool set. And I'll give a demo of MapHubs. And then talk a bit about what's next for us. So quickly about us, Leo Bottrell, our founder and CEO, has 15 years in the environmental and development sector. He's also the founder of Moabi. You may have heard about Moabi in previous State of the Map conferences and some of the OSM work we've done in the past. And myself, I'm the co-founder and lead developer. I like to brag that I have over 1 million edits in OpenStreetMap, so we can compare if anyone has more, but I have over 1 million. I like to brag about that. Yes, this like on a tablet, like that's the number of clicks basically, nodes. So what if it doesn't belong? So unlike this photo, where I'm pretty sure Cookie Monster is going to figure this out because he's like an expert in cookies, so he's going to figure it out. It's not always a straightforward question. I think we have to get back to this discussion of community and what we're actually trying to do, and it's not going to fit everyone's definition of the problem. So OpenStreetMap is Wikipedia for maps. I mean, that's how we explain it. And I think if we take the top 3 bullets off of the About page of OpenStreetMap, I think we can see how that lines up. It requires a consensus with sort of a preference for experts. That's the local knowledge. Anyone can edit, community-driven, and the data must be releasable under this license, open license that we use, the open data. So I think that's the 3 main things to keep in mind when we're talking about what belongs. So what doesn't belong in Wikipedia, for example? Maybe my 200-page manifesto about Rick Astley. Maybe it'd be awesome to load that into Wikipedia. Everyone would be okay with that, right? Anyone from Wikipedia here? It's okay. No, probably not okay. And sorry, that doesn't really exist. In case you were excited about that. So what doesn't belong in OSM? This is the classic example. We've all seen bad data. No island data obviously doesn't belong in OSM. It's not always as straightforward though. Some of the bad data, problematic data, as we've been hearing, is harder to discern. And then we have other types of data that might not belong. So what else doesn't belong? And I mean, this is not a complete list, obviously. I mean, they got that, But we have Pokemon Go, and it's the fad right now. Should we load all the Pokestops in? Well, probably not. The licensing might be an issue, and we don't want that type of data in there. It doesn't fit the entire community, so I think that's a good example. Maybe a little bit of a harder one. My favorite places with free Wi-Fi. And I think the Wi-Fi part is important. We want to record places that have Wi-Fi. That makes sense. But I think where the problem comes in is the favorite places part. We wouldn't just record what exists and not like put our own opinions and things into it necessarily. There's another platform for that kind of data. And the last one, all the land I own or anyone owns. And I think this one is kind of the serious one because property rights, whether ownership or mining or oil concessions and these other types of rights that we have for data. It's the type of data we work with. We want to match that data up with OpenStreetMap data and look at it and get that context. But it doesn't belong in OpenStreetMap for various reasons. So this lets me introduce Moabi. Moabi is all about monitoring natural resources and deforestation in DRC, in Democratic Republic of the Congo. And you probably heard Mikkel and others give presentations about this at previous State of the Map conferences. It is based on OpenStreetMap. And it lets us do something like this with all this data that we've loaded in and maintaining through that system. So like I said, Moabi is a clone of the OpenStreetMap tools, the whole website. And we went that route because it's easy to edit, has a flexible data structure. It's easy for users that are already familiar with OpenStreetMap to join in and participate, which is a big point for us. And it allows us to make customizations to the open source code and gave us a good starting point to build this system. So it let us make maps like this. And this is Virunga National Park in DRC. It is a World Heritage Site, and it's also one of the few remaining homes for mountain gorillas. And it is also a oil exploration concession. There's a firm that was granted access to explore for oil, overlapping with both the park and the gorilla habitat. And that's a very controversial topic. There was a documentary called Virunga that you might want to just check out to learn more about this issue. So sort of problems with this system. First thing is not really a problem, more of just a design, but what we is only focused on DRC, and we wanted to think about ways to expand this beyond just that region. It's difficult to import large data sets, and this is just coming from OpenStreetMap. It's the data that we work with, it's managed externally, a lot of it, so we have to bring it out, load new versions in, and maintain all of this, and that platform wasn't the best for working with that kinds of data. And we don't have controls or permission structure to have sort of control who can change the data once it's in the system, and that was one of the problems we ran into. We want to have some control over the management of the data. So this lets me introduce MapHubs. MapHubs is taking all the lessons learned from Moabi and sort of re-envisioning it as a platform for anyone to use to make these types of maps. And we say that it's a home for the world's open mapping data and a tool for to easily make and share maps. And it's our baby. We've been working on it for about a year now, and we're happy to show it off and how we can bring some of this GIS data and OSM data all together and make maps with it. So here's some of the things we can do with MapHubs. We can import map layers. We can link to external services like ArcGIS online services or Mapbox services. We can manage and control the map layers in groups inside the system, so who can edit the data. And we can publish and quickly make a map with data in the system or these external data sources, and write map stories or create what we call MapHubs, little mini websites that feature maps and stories all into one page for your project. So MapHubs technology, we mentioned we're sort of standing on the shoulders of giants. A lot of you in this room from the open source that we use. We have OSM database and API and Node.js as a macrocosm project that development team has started. We use the ID editor. We use Mapbox GL for our web maps. We use Mapbox base maps for our maps. We use the maps in vector tiles for the OSM overlays. And we're 100% open source and on GitHub. All right, so now I want to jump into the demo, make sure I have time to show you guys this. All right, so this is MapHubs. And what I'd like to do is recreate that same Virunga park map that I was showing you from Moabi. So in MapHubs, we can explore all the data that's already in here. But what I want to do is create a new data layer. So I'll go to layers and click create new layer. So let's pretend that we were out in this area and we observed an area where we saw gorillas. So let's make a gorilla layer, gorilla habitat layer. Just say that it is a demo. And here I have to pick where I want this data to live, and I made a group for the demo data here. All right, now I would have the option here to load data in if I had a shapefile or something, but I'm going to do a new empty data set and polygon, and pick the source. And I'll say this is Lobby data, and we can pick a license. We have all of the Creative Commons licenses and open data licenses in here. Now I'm going to go ahead and zoom in to the part of DRC where we want this data to live. I'll preview map here, just so we can find the right part. All right, so now I've made an empty layer, and let's put some data in it. The first thing maybe to do is I want to add a field, so we can count the number of gorillas. So I'll just call that count. So this is a number. Okay, now we're ready to draw some data. So go to Edit Map. And we get ID Editor, so hopefully familiar. I want to just switch to another base map here so I can find a good spot. A little turned around. All right, so I'm going to draw a polygon up here. All right, so there's my area. We saw some gorillas here. So let's just say we saw 9 gorillas and give it a name. Great, so now we have some data. I'll save that. And we can see our polygon over here that we've made. So now I want to make a map. So click on Map. Now we can see all of these layers that are in MapHubs, and we can add them into our map. So I'm going to click my gorilla habitat layer that I just made. Zoom in over here. All right, let's add a few more layers. We have a mountain gorilla habitat from IUCN that I can bring in. We have protected areas from DRC from Lobby that I can spell. And as we saw in that Virunga map from before, we have oil blocks, oil concessions in DRC that overlap with this, so let's bring those in. Zoom out so we can see all this. All right, and we also have OpenStreetMap data in MapHubs. Most of it is land use and roads right now, but we plan to add more. So we just search for OpenStreetMap. We can see all of these OpenStreetMap overlay layers that we have. I'm going to look for residential areas. So now we can see the residential areas that are bordering this part of the park. And finally, I want to add forest loss information so we can kind of see maybe some of the recent human activity in this area. All right, so now let me sort my layers here and put it back down. Move residential areas up. That looks a little better. So I like this map. Let's save it. State of the map view. All right. So give it a name, and you can save your map. And there we've made a map with MapHubs. And now we can share this. So we've got Twitter, for example. And we can tweet this with the hashtag. All right, great. So what we covered, we talked a bit about what doesn't belong. There's definitely a much bigger discussion to have there with that. We can do a birds of feather if we want to have discussion on things like Pokemon Go stops. We talked about MapHubs, where I showed you what we're building. And we show an example of what is possible when we try to bring all this data together, OSM data, and that does belong in some of these GIS data layers. So quickly, what's next for us? We have another project called Map for Environment. This is a clone of the tasking manager focused on environmental topics. For example, the gorilla habitat that I was showing, I have that up in Map for Environment. You can take a look at that and help us check those areas and see if there's anything that we need to map in them. We're building premium features for MapHubs, the main one being privacy. If you want to make maps that you only share inside your organization or with data that you only share with your coworkers, we plan to offer that as something that we can build on top of what we have. And we offer services to help you get started with any of this stuff. So, and another thing to mention on Map for Environment, we do have a mailing list on there. So if you go to that page and sign up, we'll have more information about mapathons and other things that we plan to do with that. And again, that's to create all of this data that we then want to overlay with some of these land use and property rights data sets that we'll combine in MapHubs. All right, thanks everyone. I guess. Okay, we have a couple minutes for questions, if there are any questions. Yes.
Does your platform offer any analytic capabilities, such if you want to make a map where gorilla habitat was within a certain buffer of deforestation?
No, we don't have any of that right now. We do offer downloads, so all those layers that we have that are in there now are public data and they can be downloaded. So you could, if you download them, use your favorite GIS and bring them back in. That's kind of the workflow right now. We might build some of that stuff in the future, depending on what people want. Yeah.
How does MapHubs compare with ArcGIS?
Do we have? I mean, yes and no, maybe, I don't know. I mean, really, a lot of the people that we work with are closer to the OpenStreetMap community, and they're familiar with those tools, and that's where we're sort of taking that direction of bringing some of these more GIS-y tools to that world and to those people. So in some ways, no, we're not really trying to do the same thing. We're sticking with the people that we work with in places like DRC. Yeah.
Hi, I hope this isn't a sensitive question, but I see also a maphub.com. Are you same or different? Your MapHubs and there's a maphub.com.
There is a MapHub. There's a maphubsingular.com. Actually, I'll have to check into that. That's news to me. There is a maphub.net. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say a lot about that, but I mean, I think they announced themselves in the end of March, and we announced ours back in December. So it's kind of who got to this. Yeah. But I think we're working in different directions. So we have specific people that we're sort of showing or want to come to our site. So hopefully we don't walk into each other too much. No. All right, great. Thanks, everyone.